So we are actually going to take it from here. So we had been drilling passing for a reason because we would like to secure a side control pin, but the person has fought tooth and nail, and there's a whole bunch of competitions now coming. So even if you're not competing, you still want to do these things because in reality fighting, this applies. MMA fighting, and I say reality fighting, I mean like real fighting, like street fighting, UFC, like MMA fighting, and also BJJ. Like I can't let my man get up. Like I just cannot let him get up. And in BJJ, since we're talking about competition, he can't let me pin him because then I score, and then he doesn't want. So he turns to turtle, and then we fight from there because the moment I go through my past, there's a disconnection in my past for a second. Let me go down for a second. Meaning this is like, I got to get my hands together. And let's say I end up 2 behind 1 and I'm down here and now I rotate my hip. No one's going to give you a pass from here. You got to get up here and you got to square yourself up and you got to secure the judges are going to give you that. And then you make the rotation. He's going to fight like crazy to turn up. And he should. He should have the will to fight. He shouldn't just lay there. And for a long time, it's not like this anymore, but before it was. Guys used to get past and just lay there, and it was just awful to watch. Like, but we fixed that. Everybody did. It wasn't me. It was sheer work ethic that everybody doesn't accept it now. So they start turning, and you got to deal with them on the turn. You're like this. And now Ethan is turning, and I'm like, oh, damn, he's coming up. So we had talked about different scenarios. One where we grabbed this elbow, and then we stepped over and went into a knee pinch, took his back, did all these things. But I'm just going to accept that he's coming up, and it just happened too quick. So when he comes up, I'm like this, and I go, damn. And now we're right here. And he's about to shoulder roll on me, and he takes his hand down, he bites onto that hand, or potentially I've looped in, and I have his wrist. So we're going to go from this position, and remember this position because we're going to do it a couple of different ways from here, and always return to it. So I would have loved to have put my hands together, but the moment, Jason loves this, Jason Perez, at one point it was a running joke that if he reverses you on that roll, I have to buy him a cup of coffee, and I was yelling at everybody, come on, come on. And he was doing it to everybody. I haven't watched in a while if he still does it, but Jay probably does. He bites onto this hand. The moment they bite onto this hand, I'm jumping over to that side. Let me have the wrist. So the moment this comes up, I've grabbed onto his wrist. Regardless, before Ethan bit onto my hand like this, I'm still going over there. So I take myself out of this pocket, and I throw myself to this side. Let me have the wrist. So we're going to say that we had the wrist at this point, okay? I've jumped to this side, and this is where I am. I'm going to have to ask you a couple of things at this point. You could be in different scenarios where you're like this, right? I grabbed onto this wrist, and he's just like this. I'm going to ask you, whether I jumped over like this, I'm going to ask you to put your kneecap right next to this position. So you're going to pivot perfectly if you put your kneecap here. So this is what I mean by it. My kneecap went right here. It was like this. I'm going to pivot, and I'm going to try to give him as much pressure into this quadrant and up the center line as I can with my feet. I'm going to try my best to connect both of my hands on that wrist. I do own it with one. I'm going to try to pair it with the second one so that I have a lot of leverage to keep pulling. So if I'm doing all of this, I'm putting my whole center line like this. As my kneecap was here, I went, and now I'm pushing into this because I want to secure my hands together. So as I'm pulling at this, I'm going to take my leg and sweep his skull. So as I put it on this other side, I swept his skull, and now I drop my secondary knee in, and now I'm on my Kimura. Back again. So remember the position because I'm going to ask you to mirror it later in case we lose this elbow. So I'm going to mirror the same position multiple times from different angles, right? So let's just go a couple little trigger points, right? I've gotten this wrist control, and this happens all the time. Maybe I saw this wrist here, right? But I caught this wrist, and now I'm on this side going, okay, I'm right here, and I have this wrist. So we said we're going to try our best to put our kneecap right in front of this elbow, and if I've accomplished that, when I pivot, my body will line perfectly with the spinal cord line. I'm going to keep my kneecaps off the mat because I want to press into him. I don't want him shoulder rolling. I don't want him to get away from me. And really what I wanted to do was put my hands together so I have a lot of force on this one wrist. So I was like this at this point. I told you I put my kneecap in front of there, right? I'm just like this mirroring him. So when I spin on this kneecap, didn't do any extra movement. I'll stay up. All I did was this. So now I'm perfectly lined up. You'll see my shoulder is lined up directly in the center of the spinal cord line. I've isolated this one sector. That's all I've done, okay? Now I have the opportunity to cup with both hands at this wrist. I'm not letting go of this wrist, and what you saw me do before was like this. I pivoted, I went like this, and now I'm holding on to his wrist, pressing into him. So now I can really secure this foot into the mat and take this leg and sweep his head in. So as I sweep his head in, as he's landing, I've said this repeatedly, have vision of how he's gonna land. Where should my knee go? My knee should land right there. So I'm not gonna land him and then take a step forward. Come back a second. So I'll go super slow at this point. I've landed my kneecap. I've pivoted. I'm pressing. I've secured my position with both hands on this wrist. As I sweep this, I'm stepping forward. So my kneecap is already landing perfectly set that I'm taking this leg up to separate and come back or make this transfer to capture his arm. So I had some vision of what the outcome was going to be after that. I wasn't just trying to turn him sideways. I was trying to finish him. So one more time. So everything's exactly the same. These wrist rides are all day long. I'm sitting here like this on his backside. I'm trying to hunt for it. I caught one. Perfect. I got one on here now. Now I take the position to the other side, right? I can jump in one motion if I want, or I can just incrementally take my step, right? Or I could just go, okay. And I'm pressing. I secured it. I swept the head. I step forward. I collect my hands, and either I switch, I bring this leg up to start going into my Kimura, or I potentially just sit back, and now I'm on my arm bar. I'll go slowly now, so everybody can see it. Right, I'm on a wrist ride. I caught this wrist. I take one step over. The reason I take one step over is potentially, right? We're not going to do this yet. Potentially, when I drop this kneecap and pull him hard, let me open up this socket for a second. I pull him hard, and that he may go over. If he's not, I'm not a high-level player. You're not going to bring over. Beginners, you will. Beginners, you'll be like this. They're so bottled up, and the moment you pull them, go back a second. The moment you pull them at this hip, they fall, and I throw over, and now I'm like this, taking your back, and now it's a really nightmare because I've gotten this hook, and now you're not going to get rid of me. And now, or you can get rid of me, but it's really a nightmare. Now I got this hand coming under this throat, and this goes really south. So potentially, I could go there first, right? But we didn't. We were like this. We went incrementally like this. Where do I put my kneecap? Right here. Right in front of that elbow. Now, if I put my kneecap in front of the elbow, when I pivot with my back leg, my shoulders center line with the spinal cord line. I've isolated this sector. After I've done that, what do? My next goal is to put my hands and take real command of this wrist so that I can have both of my hands on it. After that, what do? I'm like this. I put my kneecap in front. I pivot. I've taken total command of this one sector. I put my hands together. All I care about is sweeping his head now. I have a free leg. I take this leg out and start pushing this hand through. As I pick up, I land with my secondary leg, pick this leg up, separate, and come back. Let's part up and do it. Did everything about the same. I come over and I go, oh man, this guy's not even moving. I come back to this ankle, and now I bring him back again. So all I did was cup this ankle right here. And I'm going to lift him up, and I'm going to try to tear his ACL or rip his meniscus. Sorry. Right? So I'm like this at this point. I know I could do this early if I need to, but I'm here like this going, I'm here holding this guy like this, and all I have is this wrist. And I go, man, I can't even move this guy. He's so big. So I start sliding my hand back in here. Now I reposition myself so that I can use this leg as a tool to bring you forward, right? Because I want to elevate you so that you're like this. Now I got this leg up in the air, so I rip at the ACL to break the hip. The moment I break the hip down, I just don't go anywhere. I latch my chin onto this position because he's going to try to get up again, right? So the moment I ripped, I put a big arm. I take my secondary hand, I block your kneecaps, and now I step in front of my hand. So my secondary leg, the one that's back there, is just going to clear on top. So now I can start coming up to start coming under your neck. And now we're going belly down with a rear naked, okay? So I couldn't get him down. It was what it is. He's so big. He's really strong. And I just have the wrist, and I'm going, damn. Like, I ain't letting go of this wrist. I don't care what. I'm not losing position. Like, you can keep doing what you're doing. I'll keep following. You outweigh me by 60, 70 pounds. You're really strong. And I go, all right, I'm this bug to you. I get it. So I got to start ripping at things so that I make you turn. I'm here. Caught this wrist. Come around this turn. I went, tried to pop this hip. You thought I was a bug. I come back this way. I'm going, ugh. I feel like you're not even budging. Okay, so I take my hand, I loop it back in. I reposition my leg behind me so that I can press forward. As I give all my weight forward, I have them up in the air. As I have them up in the air, do this like to your partner. The meniscus and the ACL in a bad position, everybody will turn for that thing because it hurts too much and the kneecap does not bend in that manner. So as I rip down, I secure my position over your hip with my chin. What's my secondary move is to take my back hand and block these legs so that this pocket doesn't close on me. As you're coming up, as long as I got my hand here, I know that I'm going to get positioned because as you're coming up, I'm already inside. And now I'm coming back for your neck on the other side where I'm lacing underneath and now finishing the rear naked from the other side. Right? So, hey, it is what it is, man. You know what? All I did was catch a wrist rod. I didn't have much else. You're so much bigger than me. You're big, you're strong. I don't care. I just don't want to lose position. I don't want to be in side control. I don't want you to hold me down. As long as I can move, I'm okay with you. If you recover, but I don't want to get locked into your grips. So all I had was that wrist, and I want to try to capitalize on it. Got this wrist, and I come all the way around the turn. I go like this. I try to, oh my God, this guy's so big. He doesn't move. I drop my leg on front. I go, I'm like this, hanging on. And this guy's got his hand with G.I. Joe grip. I go, man, this thing doesn't even move, right? I go, wow, this guy's really strong. This is all I have. And I can't even move him. And he's like, man, this guy's so big. So I take my hand, loop it back in there. I reposition my foot behind me so that I can use this as a lever to push. So as I push forward, all I got him up was at this point. What am I going to do right now? I know this kneecap doesn't turn this way, right? So I'm going to rip it down so that I can get my chin over that far side hip. So as I ripped it down, moment it lands, what do we want to do? I need to transfer that hand. So I don't want you getting up. So I use my feet over the top. I put my hand in front. As long as my hand gets in front of you, I'm good to go. Let's just talk about if it missed. Think about what's going to happen if you miss this chin and blocked it. His whole body's going to come up again, and that's the time to sweep him again the other way. Because momentum now came up. That's the time to hit the move again the other way, right? Because he's going to rotate up. So all his momentum, before he was at a dead standstill, and that's why I couldn't move him. But now when he comes up, that's to go back to money move number one. But we're sticking with this one right now, okay? So you did everything exactly the same. Remember to reposition your leg, rip. Chin down because I wanted to pause to put my hand in front. Moment he comes up, I throw my leg into the pocket, and now as he's coming up, I'm going under that neck. Have vision to be under that neck before he gets up. I'm like this at this point, come over, try to rip, nothing's happening. Try to step back, nothing's happening. Okay, I lace back in, I reposition my leg high, I press off, I lift him up just a little bit, I rip at his ACL, put my hands locked, I'm over the top. Now he's coming up. I'm already underneath the neck. Okay, got your neck. Now we're going to finish this. Okay, guys, let's part up and do it. They said, why can't I grab here, right? And then just do this from the beginning, lift them up. And that's not the same thing. Like here, I'm literally ripping at a joint that doesn't, this is pure power. And there's nothing wrong with this. If you can grab this, and it's usually with a gi pant, but if I can get under this instep and lift him up like this, absolutely. But if he's 60 pounds heavy, you think you're going to lift this guy up from that leg? You're not going to lift him up. But I will tell you a lot of times when you go like this, you lifted him up. I can switch this hand back to this and grab that far side thigh to drive him back. So I can mix this up a few different ways that I'm going, yeah, I can't get this guy over. I don't want him standing up on me. Then I'm lifting him, but it's more to do a combo move that I'm lifting him off of this, where I brought him up like this just a little bit. I'm like this. But really what I was doing, let me have this wrist. I was like this on his wrist. I was just lifting him up a little. But I'm only doing this to make sure the kneecap's on the mat, that when I drop this, I'm on the far side thigh, bringing him back this way to mount him again or pass him on this side. So I'm mixing the move up with something. But I don't have a problem with you doing that, but that is a strength move. That's not a manipulation of a joint that I'm trying to rip his joint. I'm literally trying to injure him right now. I'm trying to bring this thing up so high that I've cranked this thing up to his, bring this up, that I brought this thing so high up that when I rip it, I'm ripping that joint. Different move, okay? We can mix those up, and on Wednesday, since we started the patterns up again, we'll go through different combos on it, because I got to keep this guy down. You have a 2-minute break before we go live. Grab anything you want, we'll rock and roll too. Thanks,